Generally speaking, most video games have relatively simplistic morality choices. Good behaviour gets rewarded, and being naughty will get you punished with a bad ending. But not all games are created equal, and sometimes developers have found ways to cruelly toy with the notion that good deeds reap rewards. In fact, many of the games in this list seem to actively laugh at the very idea that you should expect a positive, fortuitous result for granting mercy to an NPC. I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games that punish you for showing mercy. Number 10. Buy a prostitute's freedom, she gets murdered a few days later. Red Dead Redemption. In Red Dead Redemption's Stranger Side mission, Eva in Peril, you'll see a pimp by the name of Mario savagely beating the prostitute, Eva. While you can simply kill Mario to end Eva's suffering, though she'll run away from you in terror, there is a seemingly more peaceful, diplomatic route. If you walk up to Mario, he'll offer you the opportunity to buy Eva's freedom for $200. If you accept, that'll seemingly be the end of the matter. Mario gets his money, and a grateful Eva thanks you as she prepares to get a fresh start as a free woman. You'll be prompted to check back in on Eva a few days later, however, and find that Mario has killed and buried her in a shallow grave. Upon confronting Mario, he'll be unrepentant about her death, leading to a draw in which the player must kill him, as naturally proves quite satisfying. Still, the cruel dramatic irony here is significant. In attempting to save 2 lives by paying Mario off, 2 people end up dead. It's far from the only stranger story in the game that dares to troll players like this, but it's probably the most heartrending. Number 9. Help a woman find her missing ring, get attacked. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. In thankfully less tragic circumstances, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind quickly taught players to not simply trust NPCs who can rustle up a decent sob story. In the side quest, The Lady's Ring, a lady by the name of Sonette Jeline will beg for your help, asking you to retrieve her expensive ring which she has lost in a nearby pond. If you agree to help her and take a swim in search of the ring, once you've found it and emerge back on land, you'll find yourself being attacked by Sonette and her bandit friend Tavernu Tedran, who is apparently using an enchantment to appear cloaked. And so, with your faith in apparently regular folk shaken, you've got little choice but to battle and kill the pair. Rather weak foes and don't put up much of a fight, it's still sure to leave you incredibly paranoid about seemingly well-meaning NPCs for the next few hours. Number 8. Free an imprisoned man, release an evil spirit. Dark Souls 2. While in Aldia's Keep in Dark Souls 2, you'll come across Royal Sorcerer Navlan, a young man who is sealed behind a magic barrier. If you speak to him, he'll reveal that he cloistered himself away after becoming possessed by an evil murderous spirit and implores you not to release him. However, if you decide to ignore his warnings and those scattered around the keep, perhaps believing him to not be of sound mind, you'll be rewarded by having the dark spirit version of Navlan invade your game at numerous locations. You can avoid being invaded by simply killing Navlar's human form, making it clear that for the sake of all involved, you were better off just leaving him locked away. He might be imprisoned, but he's still breathing, right? Number 7. Turn a blind eye to incorrect papers, get your wages garnished. Papers, please. Papers, Please is perhaps gaming's ultimate expression of the banality of evil. You're cast in the role of a border-crossing immigrants officer working for the fictional nation of Astotska. The player is tasked with reviewing the documentation of both incoming immigrants and returning citizens and deciding whether to let them into the country or not. This forces you to make some tough decisions, such as whether to grant entry to those in dire straits whose paperwork may have inconsistencies. The human argument of turning a blind eye speaks for itself, yet doing so will eventually get you a citation from the Ministry of Admission, as will result in your wages being garnished. If you're not careful, you can end up without enough money for rent, food, heat, or medicine for your family, resulting in an ending where they all die. It's brutal, but so perfectly encapsulates the game's thorny moral compass, where players must balance the well-being of themselves and their loved ones with that of others. Number 6. Save the fake Rachni Queen, get betrayed. Mass Effect 3. In the first Mass Effect, players are given the choice of either killing or freeing the insectoid Rachni Queen. Whether you let her live or kill her, the morality of your actions are left relatively ambiguous, given the lack of a guarantee that this Rachni Queen will avoid following in her forebears' destructive footsteps. If you do kill the Queen, however, in Mass Effect 3, the Reapers will have created a genetically engineered version known as a breeder. Once again, the player is given a choice to spare or kill the Queen, which in this instance has had its mind warped by its own artificial creation. Yet after the anguish of the first game's decision, many players no doubt decided to grant mercy to this variation, no matter its unnatural origins. But if you do grant the breeder a state of execution, she'll eventually prove more trouble than she's worth, turning on Shepard and causing catastrophic losses to the ongoing war effort. You'll receive 100 points of damage to the Alliance Engineering Corps, and Aralak Company will be destroyed, resulting in a total loss of 200 war assets. Conversely, if you leave the breeder to die, Aralak Company will join your side. Number 5. Save Miguel's life and he kidnaps a child. Octopath Traveler. In Alfin's story, an Octopath Traveler, you'll encounter Miguel, an apparent farmer who Alfin treats and in turn saves his life. However, it's soon revealed that Miguel isn't exactly who Alfin thinks. He's a thief and a murderous mercenary. Yet Alfin is firmly committed to the belief that he should heal anyone in need, no matter who they are, and even gets Miguel to promise to repent his criminal ways and live as a good man. Unsurprisingly, Alfin's mercy isn't rewarded, but quite the opposite. Once Miguel is rested up, he breaks his vow, kidnapping a child and demanding a ransom from their mother, all while wounding the child to make a point. Alfin and his party then hunt Miguel down and engage him in battle, eventually killing him, but the matter doesn't quite end there. It's clear for the remainder of Alfin's story that the experience has majorly shaken him, even causing him to doubt his standing as an apothecary. Though the player isn't given a choice about healing Miguel, it's still devastating to see Alfin's idealistic mindset crushed quite so brutally. Number 4. Give a beggar some money and he gets instantly robbed. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 The Sith Lords offers up a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, though mostly just trolls you if you decide to help a person in need. When a beggar asks the player for a few credits, you'll be able to choose whether or not to hand some money over, but if you do decide to be generous, you'll be swiftly reprimanded for it in doubly cruel fashion. First off, the protagonist's mentor Kreia will criticise your decision, suggesting that even the best intended of acts can have unforeseen negative consequences. To hammer the point home, the scene then cuts to the beggar being beaten and robbed by a fellow refugee, ensuring your act of kindness only got the poor guy hurt. Hilariously though, if you rebuff the beggar, you'll be chastised by Kreia for falling prey to your emotions, and you're then forced to watch as the prior situation is basically flipped. The beggar beats the crap out of the guy who beat him up in the other scenario. Harsh. Number 3. Give Givejorth his sword back, cause a massacre. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. In The Witcher 2's first chapter, players are given the option of either siding with Rebel Elf Givejorth or Blue Stripes Commander Roach when the latter crashes your meeting with Letho. If you decide to give Givejorth his sword back at his insistence, this has the later consequence of prompting Bernard Laredo to start a race massacre in Flotsam whereby the humans there band together to slaughter the non-human residents. That's quite the butterfly effect moment, especially considering that if you rebuff Givejorth and instead punch him in the throat, Laredo will throw a party in Flotsam and the only immediate casualty will be the suicide of brothel proprietor Margot. In terms of pure body count, it's clear that one choice is far less harmful than the other, yet this isn't at all obvious when you're making the decision. And so if you felt like giving Givejorth a break by handing his sword back, you probably regretted it a short while later. Number 2. Let Clarence Little live, he'll try to kill you later. Grand Theft Auto 4. Granted, the Grand Theft Auto series is so jam-packed with distrustful degenerates, often including the player character themselves, that giving them the benefit of the doubt is just asking for trouble. In GTA 4's mission Holland Knights, you're tasked with taking out Clarence Little, a drug dealer and pimp who has threatened to expose the corrupt actions of Deputy Police Commissioner Francis McReary. After killing Clarence's men, Nico chases him down. Clarence drops his gun, begs for his life, and promises to quit his life of crime, at which point the player is given a choice: kill Clarence or let him go. If you grant Clarence mercy, however, he'll reappear later in the game as a random encounter, and rather than having reformed himself as promised, he's out for revenge. As a brief confrontation, Clarence pulls a gun and you're left with no choice but to kill him. Given that there's no true way to spare Clarence in the game, the message here seems to be that mercy is futile. As a result, you may as well have just cut out the middleman and killed him during the earlier mission. Number 1. Save Abby, get beaten to death. The Last of Us Part 2. Now, in the case of The Last of Us Part 2, the player isn't given any choice about what to do, but that doesn't make the ironic twist sting any less. In the early hours of the game, Joel and his brother Tommy are on patrol when they save a stranger, Abby, from a fleet of infected. Joel and Tommy, being the world-weary sort they are, could have just as easily left Abby to her own devices, but they chose to save her. The consequences of this is something that nobody saw coming. The three return to an outpost where Abby's friends are, only to be attacked by the group. Ultimately, this leads to Joel being brutally beaten to death by Abby with a golf club, is there any other way, while Ellie is forced to watch. As is revealed later in the game, Abby killed Joel in revenge for killing her father in the closing moments of the first game. He was the Firefly surgeon preparing to perform the fateful operation on Ellie. Again, we as the player had no control over whether to save Abby or not, but it was still a majorly bitter pill to see Joel's decision to help another come back to bite him in the most ultimate of ways. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below, and any other video games you can think of that punished you for being kind. Be kind to each other. And be kind to us by making sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.